I'm good. Are you watching? I was wondering if maybe you were watching some World Cup, if that's what you have going on, or are you a football fan at all, or?
Yeah, I'm a big football fan. I actually haven't had enough time over the past couple of days to have been in Mexico and stuff like that to catch any football. But I think I'll be checking in with England, America. That'll be my first one.
Okay.
I knew we were going to smash around. I mean, that's not hard, is it?
No, not at all. That's I'm. It's hard. I'm a little torn because, of course, I want the U.S. to win, but I can understand your allegiance too. I totally forgot about the Mexico show. I apologize. I was seeing like that you were in Texas, and how was it? How was the Mexico show?
Oh yeah, always amazing when we go down there. I think it's the same story for a lot of people as well. We love it in Mexico. We were doing kind of more of a festival show as well, so it was fun for us because our headline show is quite different to our festival show, so it was nice to do something different actually.
Yeah. Because it was a festival show, then did you like do the whole stage setup that you've been doing? Did you like
No,
Yeah.
no, it sometimes be a bit obnoxious and difficult for other artists to work around that because it's such an extreme build when we do it. I mean, God bless our crew; they make that work every day, and I don't know how they do it. But the way that we're kind of the show is kind of set up is the festival show is kind of a more traditional kind of like gig, greatest hits kind of thing.
Right.
And then our headline show is way more conceptual and a lot longer, frankly.
Yeah.
and so it's but our festival show is still evolving anyway. So I'll be interested to see what that becomes over the coming months.
Yeah, I will too. I'm hopeful I'll get to see you at a festival. It's cool that it is a little different, but that makes perfect sense. It would be hard to haul that whole stage, not only haul it all the way down to Mexico to perform there, but also, yeah, what it does for the other bands in a festival, that would be hard.
It's partially obviously a financial thing. It's also partially a kind of an emissions kind of thing, like a global warming thing.
Yeah.
It's difficult to that. I built that show in America, and I've built the same show in the UK, and I've tried to do it as low key as possible. So traveling it around is one thing, but putting it on planes and stuff is really difficult. But it's my job to make both shows work. So that's what we're doing.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm talking with Matty from the 1975. Last time we saw you here in San Diego was when you played a 91X show for us in December of 2019. And I was just looking at some pictures and kind of thinking about that night. And it was such a fun night. And you guys were awesome. I remember you opened with People, and it was just absolutely coming out swinging. But that was December of 2019. And then, 3 or 4 months later, the world shut down. So I kind of just want to start there, Matty. I know you guys released Notes on a Conditional Form in May of that year, but in releasing an album that May, you couldn't probably promote it in the ways that you are used to promoting a new record, right? So my question is, what did you guys do then? Did you take a break as a band at all? Did you take a break personally, or did you dive right into work, writing, being funny in a foreign language?
Well, kind of. It stopped us from doing shows along with our latest record, but the latest record was kind of tied onto the record before it. They came out very, very soon after one another. And so it's what ended up happening is that it would seem that naturally we kind of put out a record every 2 years. And it's not particularly because we're prolific, it's just because we spend so much time with each other, and a lot of that time is spent in, our houses or our studios, and it's music kind of just accumulates over this 2-year period, and it feels kind of like we need to get it out. You know what I mean? So the pandemic kind of almost lined up with that schedule. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a 2-year thing. It was a 2-year thing, and it was basically 2 years since our last record. So it kind of, in a weird way, kept us on schedule. And I think that because we have our own label, it meant that we could just get everyone in the studio instead of having everyone on tour. And the pandemic was kind of mediated by that. So a lot of stuff was created, like, B, the Doobies record and stuff like that, and Rina Sawayama's record, like, that they all were a product of a lot of time spent over those 2 years.
Yeah, and I know they're on Dirty Hit, but were you involved? We'll digress a little bit. Were you involved in the creation of their albums too in any way, or was it?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a little bit. Like, the thing is with Dirty Hit is that we tend to sign people that we just all really believe in. So we don't sign something that we want to mold into something else. So we're always just on the journey with the artist. I mean, I have a kind of like an executive production role not on Rena's record really, but yeah, there's a couple of songs that I wrote with B that are on the B album, and I'm just happy to be part of those kind of records. I think people kind of just treat me as their musical big brother a little bit, and that's kind of how I want to keep it. You know what I mean? I don't make it too professional,
Right on. That must be so fun for them and exciting to get signed to Dirty Hit, because A, it means you believe in them as they are, but B, they also get to work with you, and you get to work with them. I know Rena was just here, but anyhow, I'm going off topic, Matty.
If they want to, totally, yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. So it sounds like, because I was going to ask you, like, kind of having that forced downtime in the pandemic, like, did you have time to reevaluate, like, how the 1975 works together and how you want to tour and do things? But it sounds like you're saying it almost felt kind of normal, just in the normal timeline of like the 2-year cycle that has ended up being, the way the 1975
Yeah, a
works.
little bit. I suppose that the pandemic kind of elicited the same amount of self-reflection and introspection on me as it did on everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't immune from the kind of global feeling and hangover of COVID, but I think that we had this, I don't know, it's just like we felt lucky to be able to be a band and have been together for 20 years and like go in a studio and play songs well and have that be radical in the kind of era of like laptop producers and stuff like that, because you can't do that unless you've done that. You can't be together for 20 years and still be, fucking sick or whatever. Sorry, I can't swear, sorry.
That's okay. I'll bleep it out.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I don't know. It was a time where we kind of like, we honed in on like what made us good and just kind of focused on that,
Well, that's interesting you say that, because absolutely. That absolutely makes sense. And I think what a luxury that you guys, have the history that you do together, your own label, like the ability to do all that. I feel like I kind of hear in the new album, because every song is so good. There's no like interludes there, compared to Notes. It's like half the amount of songs, but there's like this concise feeling to it, and showing the world like what the 1975, where you are now and where you're going, right? That it's almost like, I think a lot of us learned in the pandemic, like we cannot take time for granted anymore, right? Like and I feel like I hear that in the new album. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, I think that there's as well as a kind of a feeling of almost like resignation to the fact, but yeah, there is that kind of like appreciation of the kind of how finite time is, and how we're in this constant conversation, and whether we're going anywhere, let's just go like throw a ball around or something. Like we need to like just chill a little bit. Like we're just hurtling through the universe, concerned with so many, bizarre notions of what's important. I don't know. I just think that we're kind of, as you get a little bit older, we're just looking for like at the core what's like more true. That sounds like a pretentious thing to say, but I don't know. It's a pretentious thing to do. make a record,
No, but it's not. It brings so much joy to so many people, and I feel like across the new album too, being funny in a foreign language, that's it kind of is all those things. It's fun and it feels like a dance party at times. It's super modern, but there's also serious nostalgia in it. It's the lyrics are so smart, and yet there's some really deep, loving, introspective, kind of slowing down moments in it too. It's just
well, thank you. That makes me feel like it worked. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And you know what? I read, Matty, I'm talking with Matty of the 1975 here. It's Hilary with 91X. I read that you had said that recording the album was easy, but getting there was not so easy. What is that all about? What did that mean?
Oh, well, I think that it seemed, once the record was done, it seemed like an obvious thing to do. I mean, our last record was incredibly long. This record was our shortest record. It's probably our most concise, kind of conceptually. Like, it sounds more like an album than our previous records that were more defined by almost not sounding like albums. So it felt like a very oppositional turn. But for a year, we really didn't know what we should do, and the album kind of in the end was defined by this set of rules that we gave ourselves, and we just basically didn't know what those rules were for ages, and it took us a long time to figure them out. But once we did figure them out, then the path to the execution of the record became quite obvious.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And the rest is history. It kind of sounds like. I want to shift, Matty, to the show. I know you guys have been on the road here in the States and in Mexico. You play San Diego Saturday night. You're playing at the Open Air Theater, which feels like an underplay for you guys. And that, I mean, people here are freaking out because it's going to be so incredible to see you there. But I want to ask you a little bit about the stage, like the set, I guess you call it, because it looks like the interior of a home. And what kind of where are you guys coming at us with that? Is it like welcoming us into your space, or is it like a statement about being shut in our homes and like the media we consume? Like, what was your vision for the stage? Because it looks so cool.
Thank you. I think that I can only do the best. Superficially, exactly what the stage looks like is kind of something that we've put out there on the internet and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to be obtuse and say, oh, you have to come to the show, but I think that what's been interesting with the show is that the things that people have seen, have all been completely out of context, and that's been quite nice for me because the context kind of comes from seeing the show. And I suppose what I'm saying is that the majority of people leave the show knowing exactly what we're talking about and where we're coming from, and it's a nicer experience to kind of feel that or decide that for yourself than me kind of didactically explaining what the show is about. I mean, I've stopped myself from doing that a little bit because I've done that. So I tend to I always have a very kind of concrete understanding of the reason why I do something. So, and I never kind of shy away from explaining it. But I think that this show is so big, it's like a big 2-hour theater kind of thing, and there's so many ideas in there that I've kind of worked on for so long. The same amount as the album, but it's kind of it's nice just letting it be what it is,
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm going. I cannot wait, and I'm actually going with some huge 1975 fans. My friend Chip, who thinks you have a voice like Sinatra, was the last thing he said to me. And my daughter Finn, who's a huge fan, and my friends Jake and Kaylee, we will all be there and are so excited to witness it. Yes, Matty. Thank you. So what's next? What after this tour? What is next for the 1975?
I mean, who knows? I think that I don't know. A lot of the I've done very few interviews on this campaign, and one of the interviews that I did was just me talking with my mates, and the conversation went on to this, and I was talking about how I had a solo record an idea for that me and Jack and Antonoff have been talking about for ages and stuff like that, and that kind of went around in the ether. But I think that what I've realized over the past probably like couple of months is that I always think like that, but what that always becomes is an exercise in figuring out what the creative rules of like the next 1975 record is. To be honest with you, I get bored of side projects before I even put them out. I've made so much stuff, and then I just can't be bothered with it. So to be honest with you, with like if I'm being like as unpretentious and lofty as possible, I'd say like the next thing that will happen is like I'll make a 1975 record like pretty soon, because I always do. I can say that I won't, but like every 2 years I do. So I imagine that I probably just will make another record.
Yeah. I love it. That makes me very happy to hear. Just keep them coming and keep, you know.
I mean, yeah, not to the point that it gets boring, but I don't want to like lie to myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pretend that I'm just going to like chill for 4 years. I'm not like that.
Yeah. No, I can feel that from you. I would be surprised if you chilled for the next 4 years for sure. But I love that, and you know, I guess stop when it gets boring, certainly. But your sound continues to evolve. This album is great. I love it, and I'm so excited to see it live, Matty. Thank you so much for your time today and for bringing the 1975 back to a 91X show in San Diego.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right. You guys take care.
Yeah, you too. See you soon.
Okay, Matty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.